Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. We are continuing the Biblical Womanhood series today, and we're going to talk about the second, well, I guess technically third area of biblical womanhood and kind of how you live that out. So we are doing a coffee and a chat, or in the case of today, a tea talk, because it's too late in the day for me to have coffee. Today, I want to jump out of order from the resource I gave last time that I was kind of pulling from. We're still looking at those same principles, just a little out of order. So today, I want to talk about biblical womanhood and homemaking. I've talked a little bit about my journey with those concepts and kind of how I've been working on my homemaking skills. And I kind of want to address homemaking a little bit today and talk about the ways in which the Proverbs 31 woman kind of portrays that. So I've got my Bible, and Proverbs 31 verse 15 says, "She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens." And then verses 20 through 22 say, "She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all of her household are clothed in scarlet. She makes bed coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple." Okay, so I don't actually have to deal with snow, so we don't really have that concern. I do get up in the middle of the night, but it's for work at 6 a.m. It's not to stay home. And I work outside the house. I don't work inside the house, or I don't strictly stay home. I think the point is more she's taking care of her family. And I think that's kind of really what homemaking boils down to, is you're taking care of and caring for your family. As the woman, as the mom, as the wife, whatever role you're playing, you are the caregiver. And so for me, it really clicked in my mind that I could kind of embrace that more, and that it was beyond just cleaning, that it really was more than that. When I was listening to the Homemaking Foundations podcast, I will link it in the description box below. It's with Jamie Balmain. I know I've talked about that before. She is awesome. She's really amazing, and I followed her blog for a while now. I listen to her podcast all the time, and I love reading her stuff. And she really made a point with me when she said, it doesn't matter if you are a woman who is single, or you're just married and you don't have kids, or you do have kids, or you have kids that are older and out of the house, whether you live at home with your parents still, or you're moved out on your own. Whatever your situation, God has specially called us to enroll. And even beyond that, kind of naturally ingrained certain things into us. I don't know that I could say general rule of thumb, every woman has that caregiver nature, but I feel like there's an element of it hinted at there, at least. Like there's even just a dash of it to some extent. I feel like that's just a very natural thing for women, is to be more of the caregiver. And that's not to say that's the rule of thumb. Once again, that's not everybody. But I know for me, if you give me a purpose for taking care of somebody, I run with it. I am a major caregiver just in my personality. So when we got married, I really kind of took on, okay, I have to take care of him. I have to take care of us. And what does that look like? And I've never done this on my own, and it was kind of intimidating, and I wasn't really sure what really I needed to focus on or do. And so I started learning better homemaking skills, just as far as like the life skill, like keeping a house clean and cooking, and what is healthy for you, and what cleaners should you use for what, and just all of that kind of stuff. What routines can you put in place? And I think the biggest part that has pushed me through it and just motivated me so much in it is the caregiving aspect of it, is the idea of caring for my family and for us. Even when it's just me and him, still, I'm caring for us and our home. And to me personally, I feel like this is something that every woman kind of has to find their own niche in, their own way of approaching and their own way of living it out. I think it is a calling that's given to all of us, but I think we each have our own individual way of living it out. Not every woman stays home. Not every woman homeschools. Not every woman doesn't work at all. Not every woman works from home and can be home all the time. There's just so many variations, and I think that's important to remember. That there's no prescription for how it should be lived out. There's a calling to aspire to something there. And I think honestly this can also fluctuate with seasons. When we first got married, I wasn't working and I wasn't in school for 3 or 4 months of us being married. My sole responsibility was the house and food, especially because we got married at the end of camp having regular meals, so I instantly became responsible for quite a bit of our meals instead of having a transition from a lot to a little. But it has been a journey for me, and it has been something I have worked on and researched and tried to figure out for a very long time. And I think how this applies with Proverbs 31 is she really, I believe, exemplifies a balance of that. She really balances both. After saying she rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens, it then goes into saying she considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She's also working to progress her family. She's working to provide for her family at the same time, and outside of just working with what she has in the house, she's going out and finding it. She's figuring out ways of providing. She's cultivating what they have to be able to really thrive and for her family to thrive. And I think that's such an amazing and convicting calling for me to really look at what has God called me to as my role in my family, as far as caregiving, as far as providing, as far as taking care of them and managing things in the house. I think it's lived out differently, but I think it's really important for us to take that initiative to say, okay, what does God want me to do with this? How does God want me to approach this? And especially wanting to be scripture-based, I think she gives such a encouraging example of being able to balance both. So I'm not stay-at-home currently, and I have kind of struggled with that idea simply because I really have always felt God pulling me towards psychology. I mean, it's just how he wired me, it's how he made me, and I had a desire to help people with it, to really work with people with it. So I've gone back and forth as far as that goes, but I think more than anything, I have really learned to just allow God to speak into what I'm feeling with it, and kind of, for this season, what's he calling me to? What does he want me to do? And are the things that I thought he was calling me to still how that looks? Is it still the same? Or does it change season by season? And I think it can. I have always believed in the balance of taking care of a home and family and working for a woman. I've always believed in that. Well, no matter what that working looked like, I've always believed in that because my mom was an amazing example of that. She worked full-time outside the home for all of my life. Like, she had maternity leave when I was first born, but I think she went back to work when I was like 5 or 6 months old, and So she really then was responsible not only for those 40 hours of work every week, but also breakfast for me and my 3 brothers and my dad and herself. And then she was responsible for she took on everything around the house also. And I saw her giving so much to be able to work and provide that monetarily, and then to be able to provide food wise and clothes wise and take us to get the stuff we needed, and still be so present in our lives and have such deep relationships with all of her kids. It was really an incredible example for me. She kind of has always been my ultimate role model with balancing work and a family. I think she did it amazingly. And so I've always believed in that. I've always thought that's such a amazing, admirable thing, and I've kind of always strived for the same. So all of that to say, it can look really unique and different with each person, how you live that out. And so it may not look like staying home for one person, and it may look like staying home for another. It may look like working outside the home part-time. It may look like not working outside the home at all. It may look like not working at all. And it may look like working from home. There's so many different possibilities that you really have to look at your options, look at what God might be calling you to do, and apply those verses in Proverbs 31 to that. And really the greatest thing that it tells about the work she does are verses like verse 13, where it says she seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. And then verse 30, which is quoted a lot, where it says charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. I mean, this is a woman that works super diligently. This is a woman that gives her all to God, gives her all to her family, and still finds time to do things like make their clothes and then go sell made stuff that she made along with their clothes. She's incredible, and she's a huge example of very high standards. But the main point being the fear of the Lord and the love of the Lord and his plan and work in her life, and her willingness to work hard and do what she's doing as unto the Lord, to work with that ethic and care and diligence. So I think as far as homemaking goes, all of that kind of boils into an incredible calling, an incredible responsibility, and one that I really feel like God calls all of us to, and really can be a beautiful thing and a journey. I know it has been a journey for me. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I hope this was encouraging and fun. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and share it with everybody. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, click the screen and subscribe. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!